Every 4 years, a country pours everything it has into one trophy. Some of them have been waiting 40 years for it. And the second a team finally lifts the thing, you hear the same words in every language at once. The best team in the world. But nobody at that party ever mentions the slightly awkward fact sitting underneath it. Go back to 1978 and count how many times the pre-tournament favourite, the team basically everyone agreed was the best, actually went on to win it. The answer is 3 out of 11. The other 8 times, the best team on the planet packed its bags early and watched the celebration on TV, same as you did. That's not one unlucky country having a bad night. That's a pattern, and once you see what's behind it, you stop seeing the World Cup as a test of who's best, because that was never really the thing it measured. Start with the opposite of it. Start with a league. Play a full season, and the best team almost always ends up on top. 38 games, everybody plays everybody. Twice. You can steal a single game with a lucky goal. You cannot steal a league. There's nowhere to hide for 9 months, which is exactly why nobody argues with the team that wins one. The table doesn't lie. People say that like it's a cliché, but it's closer to a statistical fact. A season is a giant pile of evidence, and over that many games, luck mostly cancels itself out. The World Cup gives you 7 games, if you go all the way, and any one of them can be the last thing you do in the entire tournament, settled in an afternoon. So that's the quiet trick the whole thing is built on. The World Cup isn't a measurement, it's a sample, and a tiny one. And when a sample gets that small, luck doesn't politely sit in the background. It walks up and takes the wheel. And football, out of every sport you could do this to, is about the worst possible choice. Because football barely scores. A game gives you on average somewhere around 2 or 3 goals. That's the whole thing. 2 or 3 moments in 90 minutes where the scoreboard actually moves. Now, picture basketball. They score possession after possession, 100-odd points a night, and when one shot rolls in off a lucky bounce nobody cares, it just drowns in all the others. But when your whole night comes down to 2 goals, then a deflection off some defender's shin, a single inch, one referee having a rough day, any of that can be the entire story. People have actually sat down and measured this. When you take a full league season and try to split how much of a team's finish is skill and how much is just chance, the number that keeps coming back is that roughly 1 point in 5 is basically luck. 1 in 5. And that's across 38 games, with all the room in the world to even out. Crush it down to a single match and the dice get a lot louder. Which makes football, for all the genius on the pitch, one of the most chance-soaked sports we have. Not because the players aren't ridiculous. They're the best on earth. It's that the game only lets that brilliance touch the scoreboard a few times a night, and a few moments is exactly where flukes like to live. Now go and do the cruel thing. Take that sport, the one most exposed to luck of all of them, and hand out its biggest prize using the one format built to make luck matter the most. The knockout. In a knockout, there's no such thing as best over time. You have to be the best today. Then again 4 days later. Then again, and again, 7 times, without slipping once. Have one flat afternoon, run into a goalkeeper who's clearly possessed that night, hit the post instead of the net, and you're finished. You're on the flight home while a team you'd beat 9 times out of 10 goes waltzing into the next round. And it isn't even a fair fight, because the draw itself is luck. Who you get and when is just names coming out of a pot. One half of the bracket turns into a war between giants, knocking each other out. The other half is a gentle stroll to the final. 2 equally good teams can get handed 2 completely different tournaments before anyone has kicked a ball. And then there's the worst one of all. 2 great teams, so evenly matched that 90 minutes settles nothing and extra time settles nothing, and at some point the sport just gives up and decides the whole thing with a coin flip in a costume. The penalty shootout. The exact moment football stops pretending to measure skill and starts measuring nerve, and luck, and whose heart is about to break in front of a watching planet. Tournaments that entire nations build their identity around have been lost on one kick by one exhausted man, by a couple of inches. Which is why the scoreboard is such a liar. There's a stat now called expected goals, and really all it does is ask how many goals a team probably deserved from the chances they made. Watch enough big matches with that number running, and you start seeing the same heartbreak on a loop. One team is better, makes more, threatens more, plays the other side off the park, and loses. They got everything right, except the one line anybody remembers, the score, which quietly files them under second. So, walk back to that party at the start. The team holding the trophy over their heads, a whole stadium screaming that they're the best in the world. Maybe they are, but that gold thing in their hands can't prove it, because it was never weighing who was best. It was weighing who survived, who stayed great for 7 games straight, without one bad bounce, who drew the easy half, hit the post the right way round, watched their penalty go in instead of sail over. Lifting it doesn't certify you as the best team there. It certifies that you were good, and that this time the randomness leaned your way. And here's the part that isn't really about football at all. You do this too. You grade a job interview by whether the offer showed up. You grade a business by whether it's still breathing. You grade a decision by how it happened to land, and then you run the tape backwards and call the result proof. Winners earned it. Losers must have done something wrong somewhere. But the best team almost never wins the World Cup, and the best version of you doesn't always get the result either. That gap between what you deserved and what you actually got isn't some crack in how the universe works. It's just variance, doing the exact thing variance does, in a low-scoring game that never hands it enough chances to come out fair. So this summer, when one country lifts the trophy and the planet calls them the greatest, go ahead and love it. But know what you're really looking at. Not the best team, the team that survived. And the next time life doesn't break your way, the interview, the deal, the whole year you did everything right and still came up short, picture that other team. The best in the world, sitting on a plane home, having done absolutely nothing wrong. Sometimes the better team loses. That doesn't make them any less the better team.